Hey guys, M Zizzle here, back again with another DFS video. This time we're going to be doing a recap of my Week 2 performance. I'm going to look back at my Draftkings lineup and my FanDuel lineup that I used for my cash games and kind of just give you an idea of who I played. We'll look back and see if there was any mistakes made, any areas where, maybe there was a bad play or we missed something, and just give an overall, review and try to learn from some of the picks and some of the mistakes that we made in Week 2. So first, I got my DraftKings lineup pulled up here on the screen. So you can see 126 points, not a good week. Didn't cash really too many times. Had a couple head-to-head victories. That was about it. You want to ideally get in the 150 range, and then I think that you're, pretty safe most weeks. So we were, 25 points off of that. So let's kind of dissect and dive in here and see kind of where we went wrong. So if we start with quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, didn't end up working out for us. Only 16.6 points. He only had 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Just wasn't enough. We mentioned in the preview video that we liked Mahomes, that we liked Big Ben, and we should have went with one of those two guys. Garoppolo, I thought, had a good matchup against a poor Detroit defense. I thought it was going to be a high-scoring game. It was. They did put up 30 points, but they did things on the ground. Breda ended up having a really nice game, and they got up big, and they just weren't forced to pass well into the fourth quarter. They were running the clock out, and that kind of hurt Jimmy from racking up some additional points, and was the difference between him maybe getting into the 20s or where he was stuck at 16 points. Barely getting 200 passing yards just isn't enough. So that was a miss. We gotta maybe just stick to the true chalk next week. Who is the quarterback in the best matchup and the game that's going to put up the most points? And it was Mahomes or Roethlisberger this week. And to save a little money and to just get some other guys fit in, we ended up going down with Garoppolo, and that ended up hurting us. If we would have had Mahomes in this lineup, we cash. Let's go down to running backs. O'Connor, Melvin Gordon. I think we were, not too bad here, especially Melvin Gordon. We hit it out of the park. He had 3 touchdowns. We were on him. He was one of our core plays. We loved him, loved the matchup, loved how involved he's getting, the targets, the whole 9 yards, right on the money. James Conner, 19.5 points. Solid day. He was 6,700, so we'll take it. He was kind of limited in the running game, only 17 rushing yards, but they get into the end zone and just wasn't a great game. I would have liked for Pittsburgh to not have been down as much and forced to pass. They had to go away from the running game because they were down, and Mahomes is just continuously putting up points and driving Kansas City down the field. So they forced Pittsburgh to really just start airing it out, which took Connor out of the game a little bit. He is involved in the passing game, got 5 catches, but if it was a little bit more of an even game, he probably could have ended up rushing for another 30, 40 yards, and that could have really, put him into a spot where he's really exceeding his value. We go to wide receiver. This is where I think we really missed. Anunwa was a good pick. That was fine. He was only 4,700. He was kind of our, cheap option that we were hoping to get, in the 15 to 20 range, and he did that. So we're fine there. But Landry and Sanders, just kind of, we missed the boat. Both we just kind of misread what the game script was going to be. I thought that New Orleans would get up big, Cleveland would have to come back and have to start really throwing the ball around. And that was going to lead me to playing, Landry and lead to him getting just a bunch of targets, a bunch of catches, and a boatload of yards, especially with Gordon being out of the game. So you see he only had 7 targets. It ended up just being kind of a defensive battle that Cleveland, almost ended up winning. It was 12-12, I believe, in the end of the fourth quarter. Cleveland, then ended up, coming back, missing an extra point that would have given them the lead. And then New Orleans obviously came down, kicked the field goal as time expired, and won the game. But just misread the game script is kind of what happened here, and it hurt us. Sanders, same thing. Denver was home. Oakland's got a bad secondary. I just saw him doing better. I saw him scoring a touchdown, and I saw him getting a couple more catches. The yards were not bad, and if we look at him, just didn't get the targets that he got last week. He last week had, I think, 10 or 11 targets. This week, only 4. So just not enough volume from him. And there was just that Denver struggled offensively throughout the game. They were down, had to come back, won it in the last couple minutes. And just their whole offense kind of struggled in general. We like Demaryius Thomas as well, and he had a bunch of drops and didn't have a good game either. So was a good matchup, should have been better for him, but Denver's offense just struggled. Kittle at tight end, that was a big miss, but didn't really kill us because I think most people were on Kittle, and if you weren't on Kittle, you were on Doyle, and if you weren't on Doyle, you were probably on Cook, and all did poorly. So, either of the guys that we were going to pick in that price range, because we weren't paying up, that just wasn't what I was going to do this week. Probably would have been in a similar situation where you're just not doing well. Kelsey was obviously the play. I liked Kelsey, but just leaned more GPP. Didn't know for sure about his involvement. It seemed like Mahomes was targeting the receivers a lot more. But obviously Kelsey, looking back at it, just great game script, high scoring total, hot quarterback. But we would have to pay up for him. So that would have affected kind of the rest of our lineup. And I just wasn't doing it at tight end. My mind just wasn't gonna go there in cash. So I'm fine with my Kittle pick, but obviously he didn't perform. And then these last two, Adrian Peterson and the flex. Again, just not a good performance. And, it just seems like our game script and how we saw a lot of these games going was off this week. And this was another one. I mean, I didn't think Indy would win this game. I thought Washington would be up. Indy would be coming back. Washington would be running the football to close the game out. And who are they going to go to? That would have been Peterson. Been, one of the perfect backs just to kind of, when the defense is tired in the fourth quarter, you're trying to run the game out, just keep feeding Adrian Peterson. But they were down. They were down the whole game, and that led Chris Thompson to get 14 catches. Peterson wasn't even on the field. So just not how we saw things going there. And then the Eagles let us down. I didn't believe in Fitzmagic, but it seems like he's legit. And he had another big day. I still am not sold on Fitzmagic going long term here. But through 2 weeks, he's been a stud. And the Eagles got carved up. So, we got saved by a pick and a defensive fumble recovery and a couple sacks that, gave us 6 points, which is okay for a defense. But I was expecting double digits. I was expecting Fitz to come back to life and the Eagles to be, someone that could take advantage of that with their really good defensive front, but didn't happen. So overall, not a good week on DraftKings. I think our mind and how we were thinking was in a good place, but things just didn't kind of go where they were. And I think just the big mistake was not saying to myself, just go with Mahomes or go with Big Ben. They're going to have a big day. They could have a crazy day, which is what they both had. And if we do that, we're in the money. If we look here, this guy had Mahomes. That's why he's in there. Another Mahomes. This guy had Keenum, but he had Gurley, which kind of helped him out there. And then it just had, solid play all around. So, it was Mahomes. You needed Mahomes, and we didn't have him this week. All right, so now let's go over to FanDuel. So we'll look at our FanDuel lineup here. FanDuel, we did actually pretty well this week. 137 points in our main lineup, which cashed in pretty much every single cash lineup or cash contest that I entered. I was in a bunch of head-to-heads, a bunch of 50-50s, and I don't think that this missed on really any of those. I didn't take down any tournaments or GPPs or anything like that, but it got the number we were looking for cash games. So what we have here on the screen is just a $2 head-to-head matchup that I had up against Checho, 12-26. So let's take a look and kind of dive in further to what we did here. So here we run Deshaun Watson, who was someone that I mentioned that I really liked. And honestly, this game didn't go how I thought it was going to go. Thought Houston would win this big, especially with Blaine Gabbert playing quarterback for Tennessee. And Houston lost. Only put up 17 points. But Watson, ended up getting almost 24 points, which wasn't terrible. He had 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and then those 44 rushing yards kind of gave us that extra little bump to boost us up into a decent territory. So I thought we could have seen a lot more from Deshaun Watson, but all things considering that they only put up 17 points and kind of struggled all day, I'll take that 23.8. So I think we're okay there. Again, like I said, you wanted to go with Mahomes or Big Ben, but we got the number we needed, so this ended up working out. So running back, we went Connor and Gurley. Connor, because of the PPR not being as important on FanDuel, only 17 points here. It wasn't a phenomenal play, but I think most people had Connor. You could see Checho had Connor. So we didn't get killed in any game here because he was owned by pretty much everybody. The game script just kind of let him down. Hopkins, 20 points, so 100 yards and a touchdown. Kind of what we saw happening there, like that play, and we had him paired up with Watson, which ended up working out. And he had a better day than someone like Antonio Brown. I really liked Antonio, but he was expensive, 8,900. We wanted to go. We went with Watson, so we did the stack with Hopkins, as I always try to stack my QB and wide receiver if I can. There are certain circumstances where it just makes sense, maybe not to do it. But if you're playing Watson, you're going to play Hopkins. So that ended up working out for us. Then we had Quincy Enunwa, just like we had in DraftKings, for his cheap $5,000 salary, got the job done for us. We had Landry again, same situation like I spoke about in the DraftKings portion. Just let us down, but again, he was owned by a lot of people. I think a lot of people were of the same mindset as we were, so it didn't kill us. Kittle, it's not good. But like I said, all the cheap tight ends, like he had Jonnu Smith here, 4,200. Guy put up 0. So the tight ends really just were a letdown this week in general, especially the ones that everyone was talking about, unless you went with Kelsey. Then we have Dalvin Cook. 10.5 points, not what we're looking for. He just didn't get the ball as much. And again, this was just a factor of Minnesota was down the whole game. They were down late. They were just needing to throw, and they were hitting Thielen and Diggs all day long. So Cook just wasn't involved. I mean, he got 52 receiving yards, so he did rack up a decent amount of yards, but only 3 catches and only 38 rushes. I don't even think he ran the ball more than 15 times. So he just didn't get the ball as much as we were thinking was going to happen, and couldn't take advantage of kind of beating up on a pretty poor Packer defense. And then the Chargers, we threw them in there. They got the 10 points. They did their job. Would have liked a couple more points from them. That we lost points because Buffalo ended up coming back and put up 20 kind of in garbage time. That took away, I think it was, maybe 31 to 7 at one point, which would have been, a couple more points for the Charger defense. But we'll take the 10. They got the job done. So, in looking at this lineup overall, the misses were really Landry, Kittle, and Cook. Right here, he went Tevin Coleman in his flex position. We could have, maybe gone Coleman instead of Cook, and then boosted up Landry, or went from James Conner and did a Melvin Gordon or something like that, and that would really put us in a spot where we're getting, an extra 20 points. And then we're talking about, maybe winning some tournaments, winning some 20-man, 100-man, being able to cash in those games and not just get the cash wins. So, overall, a good performance, I'd say, on FanDuel. We made more money than we put in this week. DraftKings, not a great performance. But I just don't think that the strategy and how we looked at things was all that off. I think, if we continue down this path and continue to play the plays that we see, I think we'll do pretty well. The NFL is just strange sometimes, and there are upsets and games that you think are going to go one way and they go a totally other way, and that's kind of really what hurt us. We saw Houston scoring more points. We saw New Orleans getting up big and Cleveland having to throw the ball more. We saw this Pittsburgh-Kansas City game being high scoring, but maybe not insanely high scoring like it was. And Pittsburgh actually being the team that wins the game. And Connors would have been able to be involved running the football a little bit more. And we saw San Francisco. We thought that they would be putting up better pass numbers, and Kittle would be the main guy behind that, getting the targets, getting a touchdown. But the scripts just didn't go that way this week. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you could leave any comments. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Please subscribe to the channel also if you're enjoying the content. And I'll be back with another video in the next day or two. So until then, I'll see you guys. Thanks for watching.